Well, good morning, Sioux Falls. We are going to do something different when it comes to this month's listening and learning session. We're in the mayor's office, and I'm with the communications director, Heather Hitterdahl. And we thought we'd try to embrace this social media wave just a little bit when it comes to our listening and learning session. And so for the next hour and a half, what we're going to be doing is engaging you through questions, through comments that we've received from you. And Heather, would you mind just providing a little bit more detail on how we did it and how we're going to get through the next hour and a half?
Sure. Well, we asked our Facebook and Twitter followers to send you questions for this session. So we have some great questions from Facebook. We've got some great questions from Twitter, and I was really excited. So thank you to all the people who submitted questions for this month.
You know, Heather, before we even get into the questions, would you mind helping the people of Sioux Falls or anybody who's interested in our great city? How can they get connected via Facebook or through Twitter when it comes to the city of Sioux Falls?
Yeah, we have a lot of presence on Facebook and Twitter, so please follow us. You can follow us at City of Sioux Falls Municipal Government on Facebook, and you can follow us on Twitter at City of Sioux Falls. And we provide a lot of updates on city government and what's happening and what people need to know when they live here in our city.
Great, great. Well, thank you. Well, we've got about an hour and a half, and I know there's a bevy of questions that we've received. So let's have at it, Heather. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Lindy asked us on Facebook, I'd really like an explanation and details about the Arc of Dreams. Who's paying for it? And if you read the full text of her questions, she believes the city is funding the project. And she would like that funding to instead be used for people who are less fortunate, or to improve education, or even to renovate the State Theater. She has a wish list of things she'd rather that money go for. So who is paying for the Arc of Dreams?
Well, Lindy, first of all, thanks for the question. And right out of the box, the city of Sioux Falls is not paying for the Arc of Dreams. There's no taxpayer dollars going towards that. It is a dream, it's a vision of some really wonderful people that felt that in the heart of our downtown, in the heart of our city, they felt that if they had some really unique and wonderful sculpture project that could really drive some tourism dollars into the city, create a sense of pride for our city, and more. But Lindy and Sioux Falls, there are no taxpayer dollars going towards this effort. In fact, right now, I know that the Arc of Dreams organizers, they are trying to raise money for that privately. They've raised some good dollars already, but certainly they'll need more. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that the city of Sioux Falls is not involved in terms of, ensuring that when this is all done, that it's safe, maintained, not a hindrance. It is over the river, so whether it be the city of Sioux Falls, the state of South Dakota, and more, these folks will also have to follow the regulations and the codes in regards to a project like this.
And I think because it's over the river, the Army Corps of Engineers is even involved in making sure that this is going to be a good thing for our city.
Excellent. Thank you, Heather. And you're exactly right. The Corps, so you've got this project, which will be a wonderful addition to our city and to our downtown. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of folks that are very intricately involved, from the federal government to the state government to the city of Sioux Falls, and yes, these really wonderful stewards of our city who are willing to give up their time, their talent, and yes, their treasure, giving money towards this this project. And then, Lindy, too, I will also say that your city, we do look for ways to help people that are in need. We do. Now, we need to be careful in terms of where we put our taxpayer dollars, because one thing that I've learned over the last 8 years is that there are hundreds and hundreds of organizations. They're good ones. They serve a good purpose. They lift people up, but they would love to have some of those taxpayer dollars. And I think that what we've tried to do over the last 8 years, and then even in the Mayor Munson administration, they really try to become more and more selective in terms of providing taxpayer dollars towards causes like that. So yeah, Lindy, I think we've got a great city. We've got a lot of public dollars that are going to good, and we've got a ton of private dollars going to good too.
This wasn't a prepared question, but it's interesting to me. She didn't want money to go to the Arc of Dreams, but there's probably other people who do want more funding for the arts in our community, and they want the city to help fund that. So it is a balancing act between some people who want money to go to these causes and some people who don't.
And that is one of the toughest things that as a public servant, whether it be city councilor, mayor, county commissioner, governor, whatever it would be, one of the toughest things that you do is trying to prioritize those very, very valuable taxpayer dollars, because everybody has their own goals, their own needs, their own priorities, and where they believe that that money should go. And so what I would just recommend, not only for future mayors, future councilors, future governors, is that as long as they focus on the government entity as a whole, whether it be that city, that county, or that state, and look to see how it would provide the most good or the greatest return for the community or state as a whole, that's the way to do it. But oh my goodness, Heather, there is certainly a level of disagreement every time we spend a dollar of a taxpayer, of the taxpayers, because everybody thinks that they've got a better way to spend it or to invest it. And so yeah, Lindy, I certainly understand. I get it. But this is one time where, no, we're not going to invest in the Arc of Dreams. We are going to put it elsewhere. But you're exactly right. There's a ton of people who just believe that the city, those taxpayer dollars, should actually go towards more art projects and maybe more sculpture projects too.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's our first one.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Lindy, thanks for kicking it off. Appreciate it.
Our next question is from Leah, and Leah is somebody who engages regularly with us on Facebook. She's always asking us some great questions, and this was a really great question. With all the people moving to Sioux Falls, why don't we have more cops to keep up with everything?
More cops to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
Leah, not only this mayor or this council, but certainly prior mayors and prior councilors before, I think the one thing that we know is that our primary role is to keep our people safe. The families that live here, the people that visit here, those that work here, public safety is just so critical. And I think we've done an excellent job in terms of back to that prioritization in terms of allocating a sound amount of money, prudent dollars towards public safety. Our women and men of our police team, the women and men of our fire rescue team, and so much more. And we have been investing in more, she said cops, police people. We have been investing in that every year that I've been your mayor. Last year I think we added 4. This year I think we're going to add another maybe up to 4 to 7. We actually try to work to get some matching dollars and have. And so yeah, when it comes to our police team, whether it be the women and men that serve, whether it be their training, their equipment, and so much more, we do try to stay one step ahead of those who want to be a bad neighbor and commit crimes. And I think that's why we've done such a good job. Now, yeah, we certainly are growing. We do experience more crime in some cases. But one thing, too, that I think that the people of Sioux Falls have really noticed is that if somebody does perpetrate a crime in our city, we're really, really good at catching them. Really good. And again, I think that just shows the level of commitment we have towards our police team.
And just a good stat is that we've added 46 police positions since you've been
46.
the mayor. So,
Right.
and 7 new this year. So we are adding to our police force every year.
Well, thank you. But we are growing. You know, since I've been your mayor, we've added the city of Watertown, and we'll add the city of Aberdeen, besides the city of Aberdeen. So yeah, those 46 new officers, that was certainly needed to help us keep up with those, you know, those folks who want to do bad stuff in town. And we'll keep doing that. But one of the challenges that you face is that there's all these other things that we have to use those valuable taxpayer dollars for too. But I strongly believe that public safety will always be at the top of the priority order when it comes to, you know, how we spend our dollars.
Well, we have some questions about another one of your top priorities, traffic flow. And we got 2 similar questions, one from Twitter and one from Facebook, about Sioux Falls is growing, number of cars are increasing. What are the plans to improve traffic from driving from one side of the town to the other? And then one person was specific about 26th Street and east-west traffic flow.
We definitely still have a city that you can get, you know, from point A to point B in 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But it is certainly become more congested, especially with our growth levels that we have. We can build more roads till the end of time, but they're unbelievably expensive. With our changing weather conditions, they deteriorate, you know, more rapidly than we would like. So refurbishing our roads, widening our roads, making our roads faster, that's certainly part of the solution. However, I think the way that we have been keeping up and the way that we'll continue to keep up in years to come is we'll use technology to help us in that effort. And that's exactly what we've done. At least over the last, 3 to 4 years, we've been using traffic light technology to really help us keep Sioux Falls moving. We started with 26th Street, a very, very busy road in our town. And we put these cameras up along with utilizing technology to help us figure out, okay, where are backups, what tweaks can be made, and then how can we keep Sioux Falls going, not only in a safe pace, but a pretty productive pace. And we learned a lot. And then we just expanded that to 41st Street, Minnesota Avenue, and we'll continue to do that more and more. And I think that's the ultimate answer for us in terms of how do we keep Sioux Falls moving. Now, the one comment though was, Mayor, what about getting east to west? If you could wave a magic wand or kind of go back in time and redo maybe some of the decision making that was done by our forefathers here in the city of Sioux Falls, I think we'd certainly do things differently. The biggest one I think that people see is, and it was kind of mentioned there, is, Mayor, why can't we just build a tunnel on 26th Street to get us from the east part of town to the west part of town, or let's build this huge overpass over the golf courses or something like that to get us to east-west. I just don't see that happening. I don't. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think it would take a ton of federal dollars, which are not there, state dollars, which definitely are not there, and city dollars, which are prioritized elsewhere. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think our best option is to really improve the functionality of those east-west corridors that we already have. The 10th and 12th Street and things like, of course, 41st and others, as well as getting people to use those interstates. My gosh, Sioux Falls. I could just ask. Consider using the interstates. We are so fortunate in Sioux Falls with I-90, Interstate 29, Interstate 229, and now Veterans Parkway that we're working on. Use those. I think you'll find you'll get there just as fast, if not faster, and you'll have a lot less stoplights to deal with and traffic congestion, and your neighbors will appreciate it too. But again, I thank you. We will keep Sioux Falls moving, and we'll keep investing dollars and improving our roads, repairing our roads, but also improving that traffic light technology all at the same time. And I still think you'll be able to get anywhere in our town in 20 minutes or less.
Well, a couple of more contentious topics have been in the news lately, and of course
Yes.
they showed up in some of these questions to you as well. Paula asked about one of them on Facebook. She asks, why is there faulty siding on the Pentagon that has not been fixed? And of course, I think she's referring to the event center, not the Pentagon.
Yes.
She's particularly asking about the siding at the event center.
Paula's asking?
Yep.
Okay. Paula, it has been a topic of conversation ever since the event center was being built or was built, and even now, with all the great things going on at the event center, we still have a few folks, including some in the media, who want to continually talk about the siding and the rippled panels or whatever. And I get that. I think it's fine. But the reality is that I don't think there was ever any real talk about removing the siding from the Denny Sanford Premier Center. I've been pretty close to that topic, and I don't think we ever considered removing that siding. We believe that not only is it beautiful and functional on the inside, most of the comments that we get believe that it's unbelievably beautiful and functional on the outside too. However, the reality is that, those panels, at least in some sections of our event center, they are rippled. And that was one of the reasons why we went back to the entities that were responsible for building it. And that's why we did get into a negotiated settlement to at least get some compensation for that. And we received a $1 million settlement on behalf of the taxpayers of Sioux Falls as some sort of, compensation to allow us to, move forward, but also, identify that, that wasn't the way that we ultimately wanted it to be, when we first envisioned it. What ended up happening, though, at the end is that because we still had some folks that just continually wanted to not only talk about the panels, but there were some who said, well, if they're bent, that means it's structurally not sound. I don't want to say anybody, but very few people ever believe that. But if there's a drum roller out there and people just keep saying it, a few that are, loud, vocal, organized, and maybe just trying to stir the pot a little bit, if you keep hearing that, whether it be in your family, whether it's, your kids or your church or business, or at some point in time, you say, let's just deal with that contentious topic and get it done with. And so what we ended up doing is we said, okay, let's just hire an objective third party and have them do an analysis of the structural integrity of the Denny Sanford Premier Center, and then move on. I personally was not a big proponent of doing it, but like I said, at some point in time, you just kind of fish or cut bait. And so we had Council Chair Kiley, Council Vice Chair Erickson, myself. We got together. We talked about, let's do this. And so we did. Hired a really strong third party who came in and found out exactly what we all thought was going to happen. And that was, now there's no structural integrity issues with our Premier Center. They did make some really solid recommendations. Every 10 years, continue to look at it, just like you would any entity that you own, whether it be your home or your church or your business in our event center. But no, they did find that even with a rippled panel, our event center is very, very structurally sound inside and out. But again, we'll move on. And you know what, Heather? My gut says there's still going to be folks that, I don't know why, but they do. They always want to go back and create negative or agitate or create distrust or rumor, innuendo, whatever it would be. And it happens in government so often, and it's just so unproductive. It really doesn't help anybody. And worse yet, I think, Heather, is this, and people of Sioux Falls, I think that at some point in time, you need to, what are you going to do with the time or your resources or your energy or these valuable city employees that we have? When are you going to allow them to go focus on capturing other opportunities or addressing other issues? And that's what I would always encourage the people of Sioux Falls and the people of South Dakota to understand, is that at some point in time, you do have to make a decision. You do try to do your best to answer the questions that are out there. And then after you've answered them, move on already. I've said this before, and I'm beginning to realize it more and more after 8 years. And we can answer the questions until we're blue in the face. We can do all the due diligence, till the end of time. But there are some out there who they just only want the answer that they want. Mm-hmm. And if you don't give them the answer, they're never satisfied because it's not the answer that they want. We'll give you the answers. And we've done that in Sioux Falls city government over the last 8 years and more. But sadly, it's just not the answer that some people want, and they'll never be satisfied until they get it.
Well, and we have been talking about this sighting for 4 years, almost 4 years we've been talking about the sighting. But my own personal Facebook feed, when I look through my Facebook feed, I have friends that are at the event center probably, it seems like every other weekend, going to a concert and enjoying themselves, and I've never had a single one of them ask me, what about that sighting, Heather? But they sure tell me about the fun they had at the concert.
I think that's not only for you, Heather, but also for me. I'm the mayor. I'm responsible for these 180,000 plus people that live here, and yes, all the visitors that come here. I've tried to be available, open, transparent, engaging, and folks, I don't know if you believe it or not, but you're right. When it comes to the event center metal panels, I don't know if I've received, more than 1 or 2 comments on it, and sincerely. But again, whether it be this topic or that topic, most people, they just want government to be productive, to be effective, to really make good things happen on behalf of the people as a whole. And they don't get caught up into these very, very sometimes contentious issues that some people just want to keep bringing up over and over and over again. They just want us to get things done and leave the city of Sioux Falls better than we found it, and I think that we've done that.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lindy had another good question for us, and it's again about something that she thinks is unattractive.
Okay.
She said, I'd love to see those very unattractive, bulky, round concrete planters downtown gone or changed, as it seems to me they greatly hinder sidewalk maintenance and block areas that could be much better utilized for outdoor seating for businesses.
And I think Lindy's talking about the big round planters.
Some people call them eggs, I think.
Okay, they kind of look like an egg.
Yeah.
On Phillips Avenue especially, but also now on some of the other areas downtown too. Well, first of all, Lindy, those aren't paid for by the city of Sioux Falls. It's a downtown Sioux Falls organization. project. And it really is meant to serve a variety of different purposes. Number one, we do want that downtown hopping with activity. We want people living down there, working down there, playing down there. And when we have good weather, we want them everywhere down there, especially on those sidewalks, taking full advantage of the wonderful weather and the activities there. But when we really started to get downtown going at a pace that we never even dreamed about, we did have some of those business owners that really took full advantage of that. But in many cases, they actually put their tables or their seating really, really close to the curb and the street. And I get it. You know, they were trying to do more with less, squeeze in more people, more bodies. But it also probably was a bit dangerous too. And so one of the ideas that the downtown Sioux Falls folks had, and I think it's a good one, was to put some of those planters there to provide some sort of protection mechanism, but also kind of move people back a little bit. So it was a safety mechanism, but also they are beautiful, especially in the summertime, with the overflowing vines and flowers. They can do seasonal decorations. I know you probably you've been in tune to that, Heather. You've seen it. But yeah, I think they serve a variety of different purposes, and it's a good thing. We could, I guess we could move those in the wintertime, but also they put some seasonal decorations in the wintertime too. So, they still serve that purpose. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that, Heather?
Well, I think it's interesting that so many things that even are beautiful do serve a purpose, and this one is public safety. And of course, that's our highest priority in city government, is to keep people safe. And so a lot of things do have dual purposes that you wouldn't always consider.
And Sioux Falls, I'll mention this too. Even if maybe the city of Sioux Falls is not ultimately responsible for something, in this case, those planters, public schools, private schools, things like that, it still doesn't mean that we can't have some influence on those. So if you do have a question about something, even if you're not sure if the city of Sioux Falls or the mayor or the council even has an authority over that, it doesn't mean that we can't get involved, and we do. Joe Batchelor, Brienne Menner, at Downtown Sioux Falls, their team, we engage them all the time on ideas that we hear or concerns that we have, and so we do work in collaboration to still make things better. Sioux Falls Public Schools, Sioux Falls Private Schools, and so much more. We're always engaging them to try to make our community better.
Well, here's another hard topic, mixed-use parking ramp. We've been talking about that a lot in the news lately. And Paula asks, why would you partner with a company that cannot pay a $20,000 fine and disposes toxic materials by driving them through the downtown and residential areas? So she's talking about some stuff that's been in the news lately in association with our mixed-use parking ramp.
Paula, your specific question about they couldn't pay a $20,000 fine, and they were putting hazardous materials through our city and in our landfill. Certainly, the city of Sioux Falls, we're not going to put our head in the sand on any topics involving health or safety for our people. When it came to this particular fine that Paula is talking about, this $20,000 fine, please understand, Paula, and people of Sioux Falls, number one, it wasn't levied or determined by the city of Sioux Falls. This was a Department of Environmental and Natural Resources topic. It's managed by the state. It was their investigation. They were doing the work on it. They levied the fine. It was up to them and how they wanted to collect it or not collect it. The city of Sioux Falls was not involved in that. And so I think that was one of the misnomers, is that we kind of put our head in the sand or we let it go. No, we didn't. Now I will say this: we actually didn't even know about it, until we found out about it through other sources. And so that is a learning lesson, I think, even for the DENR, is that we've got a good relationship with them, but two, they should let us know on a proactive basis when things like that are occurring for a variety of different reasons. Then I think Paula said, why would you partner with an entity that did that? Well, we're not. We're not. We never were. The entity that was involving, we're not partnering with them. And again, I think it's one of those misnomers, that misinformation, kind of stirring the pot, creating distrust. But we're not, and we never were partnering with that entity. And again, I respect the due diligence. I respect the investigation. I don't mind the questions. But again, we answer the questions over and over again to the public, to the media, to the council. We answer them in great detail, but there's still that perception out there or that misinformation out there, and then it makes people upset and concerned, and I get it, such as Paula, but no, we're not partnering with them. We've got it's a really good project, the mixed-use parking ramp. It's one that we've talked about for probably well over 3 years. And then with the new council, we did an RFQ, which is where you go out there and you submit requests for proposal. And what they do is they'll say, all right, we want to build a mixed-use parking ramp in the heart of our city, and we'd like it to be grand, visionary, take full use and get great value of that valuable land down there. And we did it. We got 3 proposals in. We had some folks, including a city councilor and others, Joe Batcher from downtown Sioux Falls and others. They looked at all the proposals on a very, very objective basis. Sioux Falls, I'm going to say that again, a very objective basis to try to do something that they felt was good for our downtown and good for our city. They unanimously selected this proposal. It went through a gamut of questions and due diligence and meetings, endless debate, at least a full year of it. And ultimately, the city council made a decision to vote 6-1 in December to move that project forward. 6-1. It wasn't unanimous, but it's still a pretty strong vote. And those are city councilors that actually really do care about Sioux Falls as a whole, even knowing that there's these contentious topics that we deal with. But it passed 6-1. And then a month later, in January, there was a councilor or two who said, you know what, let's try to repeal that through an ordinance. Again, some strong conversation, more questioning, more due diligence, more debate. Some of it, pretty passionate and vocal, and but even then, Sioux Falls, the council, your council, my council, our council, they voted 5-3 not to even get it to a second reading. And I think their message was, come on, kind of like what we talked about before, Heather. We've already spent a ton of time on this. It's had incredible due diligence. It has met the scrutiny of the people, the council, the media, those that don't believe that it meets the mustard. It met it and more. And I think the council felt strongly that it's time to move on and capture other issues, or address other issues and capture other opportunities. And so, again, they're hard decisions, but they're good ones. Whether it be, some of the contentious ones that I've dealt with over the years, the super Walmart, down
Right.
south. Oh my goodness.
Now look at what's happening there.
Now look at what's happening there. Unbelievable. The Denny Sanford Premier Center. Oh boy. The new indoor pool. Now look what's happening there. The city administration building, which I believe people are just going to be so proud of when it's done. And yes, this mixed-use parking ramp and so much more. You do deal with these contentious, hot, controversial items at times, but ultimately, your job is to lead, make decisions based on what you think is good for the community, and then you move on. And that's what this council, and yes, this mayor, and the vast, vast majority of the people of Sioux Falls wanted to have happen.
And I think just to give people some extra confidence in this project, they should know that Journey Group,
Yes.
Sioux Falls Construction, is the company that we are partnering with
Yes.
to build this structure. And our private partner has provided us with $150,000, their first payment, as part of their development agreement. This is happening, we can be confident that they can fulfill this project.
And the Lamont Group, which is
Yeah.
maybe one of the top-notch hotel conglomerates in this area. They are now leading the charge on this project too. So again, it has met the mustard. It has handled the scrutiny, and I think in the end now it is even stronger than it's ever been. And you watch 5 years from now, people will be going, "Wow, what a wonderful project!"
Right.
But they'll forget about all the controversy that we had to endure along the way.
Just to follow up with Paula, part of her comments too was that because the question about the event center siting
Yes.
and the mixed use parking ramp came from her, she feels like some of these projects, quote, reek of corruption and under the table deals. It seems there is political corruption in our city as well, she says. So what's your response to that?
It is so hard sometimes to be in public service. And I know she's not attacking me or attacking the council or but when you hear things about corruption, under the table deals and all that, it probably is certainly possible, that's occurred in the past in government somewhere, but it's not happening in your Sioux Falls city government. It's not. There are so many checks and balances, so many controls, and yes, so many folks, even folks that I disagree with on many topics, they actually do care about your city. They could be doing so many other things with the days that God has given them, but yet they've chosen to be public servants. So why people talk about, the unscrupulous nature of these women and men that are serving, or the corruption, or the under the table this or under the table that, it really is disappointing and disheartening. But it is, a reality too, is that sometimes if folks don't, get what they want with a particular topic or disagree, maybe their first thoughts are, oh, well then, it must be something. It couldn't have just been an objective decision. There had to be something more. There had to be something more, and I don't believe it in any way, shape, or form. These RFPs or these RFQs. It's a process that the city of Sioux Falls did way before I was the mayor. Sioux Falls. I'm looking at the camera here a little bit. This process serves you so unbelievably well. It ensures that it's an objective review of the opportunity and tries to keep the subjectivity out of it. Whether it be the new management team for our public golf courses, whether it be who's going to build, this building or that building or the mixed, what it would be. This is a process that has stood the test of time, and one that I think we've actually made better over my last 8 years because we've added more citizen involvement. We've had more council involvement. We've had more, even more parties involved in this decision making, and it is truly an objective one, and it's a sound one. But I'll still hear things about, well, the mayor ultimately decided.
Right.
Oh my gosh, the mayor, at least this mayor, I don't even find out what the voting was or who won until long after it's gone through all the, the crossing the I or crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Then the mayor, this Mayor Mike guy, then he finds out what happened. Not before, not during, but it's way after. But you still have these people out there who go, oh, no, it had to be an underhanded deal, or the mayor controlled all the decision making. Nothing could be farther from the truth. But you'll still hear that probably till the end of time, whether it's in Sioux Falls or Gregory or Tripp or Rapid City or Chicago or whatever. There's still always going to be that perception out there.
Well, maybe this is another question for you then, because maybe you're responsible for the smell that comes from Morels. But a question that came from Twitter: is there a plan to fix the problem with the smell that comes from Morels? And it's interesting that they are asking the city this.
Yep.
We did check with our Public Works Environmental Division, who is responsible
Yes.
for this. And of course, they came back and said, well, the city doesn't really regulate air quality. That's regulated by the state of South Dakota. And even odor isn't really considered air quality because it's such a subjective thing. And so there's not a lot that anybody can do about it.
There's not a lot maybe that you can, but I will tell you, Smithfield Foods and John Morel and Company, they do take it seriously, and they have been doing some things about it, and that's been in collaboration with the state, the DENR, with the city of Sioux Falls, and it's because they want to be a good neighbor. One thing about John Morel and Company, or now Smithfield Foods, they are a very, very integral part of our economy. Thousands and thousands of jobs, good jobs that are bringing family in from all over the country, all over the world to help strengthen our economy. And one of the things that they do realize is that, it can be a more messy type of industry, but they take it seriously. I know that you did your homework. I also did some homework, and this is the only time I'm going to pull this out. But I thought that one of the things I could help the people of Sioux Falls understand, in terms of the improvements that Smithfield has made, or what they do every day, okay? Kind of an education lesson for you and for me, is that those hog barns and processing facilities are cleaned daily, of course. The rendering facility has installed an air scrubber to reduce odors from this process. They have 24/7 online analyzers that are constantly testing the makeup of the air being discharged from the facility. The analyzers, they do notify staff with alarms if there's ever excessive odor that's causing pollutants that are being discharged in the air, which is good. And then those wastewater lagoons around that facility, they are covered. And the gas is produced from the treatment is captured and burned as fuel. Smithfield Foods, they've invested millions and millions of dollars into that facility, and they're continually investing millions of dollars into that facility, not only to make them more efficient and more productive, but also to address some of those things or concerns that the people of Sioux Falls have as well, such as that odor. Now, it is not perfect, no way. Heather, you know that. You go to the farmer's market.
Yeah.
Cindy and I go to the farmer's market. If the wind is blowing just right, you can get a sense of that. But it is part of our economy. We do live in an ag-based environment and economy, and I'm thrilled by it. So again, we are If it ever gets too bad, we'll be back with Smithfield. But right now, I think we found a really good balance.
And I learned something new today, an air scrubber. That's a great word, right? They have
An analyzer,
scrubber.
air scrubbers, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Julia asked us on Facebook.
Julia. Okay.
What can be done to fix the parking issues with the schools? We have to park at gas stations to pick up our kids, and this was news to me.
And Julia, I don't know exactly. I'll bet she's probably talking about when they drop them off or pick them up,
right.
Probably around 3:15 or so. Again, we're not in charge of Sioux Falls Public Schools. Some mayors in different cities, they are. This mayor is not involved in or in charge of Sioux Falls Public Schools, but we do engage, Dr. Brian Maher, their facilities teams on topics like this. So here's what I would recommend. We know there have been situations where cars are backed up as they're waiting to pick up their children from public schools or from private schools, and we will work with those schools to make sure that that you're still able to keep Sioux Falls moving, but also keeping not only those cars safe and those drivers safe, but also those young people that are trying to get to those cars and those parents, keep them safe too. So my recommendation, Julia, would be if there's a particular school or street that you're concerned about, let us know. Whether it be our police team, whether it be our public works team, or whatever, we will check into it and we'll work with that school system to try to find a better way to address it. But when it comes to parking, you probably don't want to build a monster parking lot just to handle the parking challenges of picking up your kids at 3:15. It's kind of like you don't build a church for Easter service because you're certainly going to get more than what you need. So, however, we can find a way to work with those schools to find a much more efficient and yes, safe way to manage that traffic and manage that parking.
All right, well, we have a question about snow alerts. We're filming this just a few days after a recent snow alert.
Yeah.
And Leah asks, why are there snow alerts to plow when there's barely any snow?
Oh, Leah, would you repeat that one? Because Sioux Falls, you got to listen to this one again. Pay special attention because when you become the mayor, you'll really struggle with this whole snow stuff and kind of how it works. So go ahead, one more time.
Well, her question is, why are there snow alerts to plow when there is barely any snow?
Yeah, and though I think that her timing is perfect because this last snowfall, oh my goodness, like others that we've had in the city of Sioux Falls, Leah, we are a city that's about 75 to 80 square miles, 75 to 80 square miles. And Mother Nature, when that snow comes, it is interesting. The northwest part of town, their snowfall has the potential to be dramatically different than the snowfall on the southeast part of town. And then if you throw wind into it, which often happens in South Dakota, Heather, I'm sorry, I'm not pointing at you, sorry. When you throw wind into it, or the consistency of a snow, it just completely changes that dynamic too, depending on where you're at. For example, if you're on some of the newer parts of town where they don't have a lot of trees, a lot of buildings yet, that wind can create drifts on those neighborhood streets or those arterial streets in ways that you can't imagine. And that's exactly what happened with this last snowfall. Mm-hmm. And I get it. Because if you were on one part of town, especially the north part of town with this last snowfall, you maybe got 2 inches. And
maybe
you're going,
half an inch.
Maybe half an inch.
Yeah.
You're going, why are we plowing the snows? I get it. But then if you're on the south part of town, they got dramatically more snow and that wind creating drifting conditions. And Leah, here's the deal. when we make these decisions to do snow alerts, we don't do it based on we're only going to snow plow or plow out this specific part of town. That is impossible, because you can't imagine the complaints that you're going to get from the people in all the other parts of town is, hey, why did they, talk about rumor and speculation and innuendo. If you tried that, then it would only be, the mayor's neighborhood, they're the only ones that got plowed, or this city councilor, they're the only ones that got plowed, or there was some special interest group that the mayor knows, they're the only one, that's the reason why they got it. No. If you're going to do it for one, you do it for all. But of course, what you'll do, such as you may not put salt or as much salt as sand as you would in other parts of town. That is real. But no, it's a really hard thing. Galen Huber, how he and his team they manage this, I don't really know. But we've got maybe the best snow removal in the country. We do. We'll plow snow in 24 to 48 hours, which is just unheard of. And we put down snow gates, so that kind of protects also those driveways and so much more. So no, but I get it. On its face, you're going, Mayor, that seems like a big old waste of money if we're going to plow streets that received a half inch to a couple of inches of snow. I get it. There have been times where we only got 2.5, 3 inches of snow, and it was near the end of, or it was in the spring.
Right.
And we just made a decision: we're not going to plow because we felt that it would melt. All in the spirit of trying to save taxpayer dollars and use common sense. Well, I remember the last time we did that. Last spring, Heather, we had all the forecasts said there's a heat wave coming, and it'll happen within 48 hours after the snowfall. And then here's what happened. We got a bit more snow than what we expected, as well as that heat wave didn't come. And the complaints we got, people blaming me, why isn't the mayor keeping us safe, and why doesn't he spend some of those hard-earned taxpayer dollars on snow removal? He's only doing it to build pools or event centers or city administration building. I got it. I heard it. But no, it had nothing to do with any of that. It just, we truly did rely on the forecast. The forecast didn't work out, so we had to go back out there. And then we did plow them, but it was not as fast as the people wanted. It's not an exact science, Sioux Falls, but we do a really, really good job. I'm telling you, an incredible job. And so, until you're in Galen Huber's shoes, I just ask you to kind of take a deep breath and just be very thankful for what we've got. Because these women and these men that are plowing our streets, 90% of the time, they're doing it when we're sleeping soundly in our bed. Mm-hmm. They are. Or they're doing it on a weekend when we're enjoying our families. Or in many cases lately, they're doing it on the holidays. And I think sometimes we're too quick to blame, or we're too quick to complain, when in reality we don't know how good we've really got it. Boy, Heather, I've lived across the country, I've traveled the country, and if I could, I'd take everybody on a little magic carpet ride to these other towns and cities in the Midwest, or the Northeast. And I wish I could let them see how snow removal is done there. I think they'd be shocked. And I think they'd also be unbelievably pleased how well we do it here. Also includes road repair. I tell you, we have repaired I think we're almost at 400 miles of roads since I've been your mayor. We've made such dramatic progress, Heather, but yet I still have folks that are really, really complain about our streets, and our streets are in such better shape in comparison to most. Yeah, but anyways, it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, back to snow removal. The new mayors, you better do snow removal, otherwise you will feel the pain. But leave it in the hands of people like Galen Huber, Mark Cotter, and their team. They'll serve us well.
And snow removal is probably the thing that I spend the most of my time on ever topic for communication.
Yes.
Snow alerts are communicated in so many different ways, from text messages to social media to our local media. And so I'm always in contact with these folks during these snowstorms so that I know what's going on and I can help communicate it to people. And I know that there's so much thought that goes into, do we issue a snow alert? Do we not issue a snow alert? Mark Cotter's out driving around the city in his pickup, and he's getting data from the police team on where there's crashes. And so it is a really thoughtful process. It's not a magic number of inches of snow that fell.
And it is one that is always evolving, especially with South Dakota weather. It is evolving in such a dramatic way. And so, we make these decisions. We use technology. We collaborate. But we are trying to be as prudent with the taxpayer dollars as we can. But remember, I think we started our program this way, Heather. Our priority is keeping people safe.
Right.
It is. So if we ever err on the side of safety, and in this case it was Leah.
Yeah.
Leah, we did. We erred on the side of safety, and so shame on us. But that is what we're going to do.
Well, Betty asks on Facebook, what can be done to expand public transportation in Sioux Falls?
One of the toughest things that I've tackled in 8 years as your mayor, and I honestly, I don't think it's been as successful as I've wanted it to be. It is a beast of a topic because we are growing so dramatically. We've got people moving in here that are really used to a more vibrant public transportation system, whether it be rail or subway or busing, whatever it would be. And in Sioux Falls, we've built a system that's really based on how many trucks do you own or how many cars do you have. And it's going to be a real challenge in the years to come because, adding rail lines now, adding subway service now, even adding more buses now is hard. We're trying to do things like adding bike lanes and getting people to walk, run, or bike to work more. But our biggest challenge, Heather, has been that the funding that you need to have a really, really vibrant public or paratransit transportation system, it's just unbelievable. And the federal government, they're not providing dollars really anymore. The state government, they really never have, and if they did, it was a small pittance. And again, prioritizing city taxpayer dollars has been a challenge too. So we are working with some of the entities on things like paratransit. We are trying to improve or strengthen the routes and the access when it comes to public transportation, but it has really been a challenge. And then this mayor, I've taken some heat over the years because I did say, one of the things we need to do is we need to, find a better balance between expense and revenues. And that's been a losing proposition for me. I've gone to the council almost every year that I've been the mayor saying we do need to raise fares to generate revenues to enhance our service, enhance our routes, provide more options. But yet I've not had any support from the council to do that because it is a very, very passionate subject, especially when you're dealing with paratransit. But the reality is, until we get some additional funds to enhance the service, provide more options, improve the service, it's not going to happen. And so here's the sad news: is that really you're kind of held hostage now. That if you're not within the confines of that specific area that we serve for public or paratransportation, you're stuck. You're stuck because we're not going outside of those boundaries because we don't have the money. We just don't. And we have squeezed this turnip. We've squeezed it as much as we can. I mean it. And so, that we're about at where we can be. So I don't have a good answer. And it's been one of the most disappointing things that I've dealt with over my last 8 years. We've provided, I think, good plans, good action steps, but this is one where we've just not made a lot of progress. Sorry.
Do you think the next mayor will have be able to move that needle at all?
I never want to say never. I wish him or her well. But there is going to have to be some really tough decision making made. And you are going to even have to look at these people that you serve that are tearing at your heartstrings. And you're going to have to remain objective. And that's not easy sometimes. Boy, I remember I was against offering free bus rides to kids in the summer. I love kids. I want them doing things to stay active and stay out of trouble and make the most of their summer vacations and get to work. And I do. But I just thought it sent a really bad message that in a entity called public transportation that we already don't have any money or enough money, why we would then, let's offer more free. I just thought it sent a terrible message. And I think it's one of the things that we do in our country. And I think it's one of the things we do in our state and yes, do in our city is we don't objectively evaluate things enough. Subjectivity gets in the way of good decision making sometimes. And again, no, the sky's not going to fall. The world's not going to come to an end. And yes, we did the city of Sioux Falls is doing just fine by providing free transportation to those young people during the summer. But again, if we're ever going to address this issue at the level that we need to, you're going to really have to make some really unpopular decisions. Did you hear that, mayoral candidates? If you're going to serve the people of Sioux Falls well, you're going to have to make some unpopular decisions based on what's good for the city as a whole versus what's based on the special interest group that is passionately sitting in front of you saying that their deal is the best thing since sliced bread.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we'll end with a couple of more fun questions.
Okay, fun.
Yeah.
I actually think this has been fun.
Good.
I do. And whether we do it this way, we don't have many more to go, Heather, at least with this mayor. But it has been interesting. We've got some tough questions here today. And so, whether it be through Facebook, through Twitter, through Instagram, Snapchat.
We don't have those, so sorry,
okay.
But we'll someday.
But it is a way to engage your government, engage your decision makers, engage your mayor. And so keep it going. Yeah. If you're watching this program, Sioux Falls, you can call the mayor's office, call the department heads, contact your city councilors, send a Facebook post, a Twitter feed or whatever, and communicate with your government. So no, it's been fun. Thank you. Fun. Yeah. Hey, and Brad Dumke. Sorry, we're not going to put him on camera, but here we are. We're sitting in the mayor's office, doing something unique that's never really been tried before. But you've got Brad Dumke here, who is set up all these cameras in the mayor's office, taking a risk with us. And maybe we're making a mistake, Brad. I don't know, but we are trying something new. We are thinking outside of the box, and I think that you have to. In this age of communication that has just evolved dramatically in just the 8 years that I've been serving the people. How people get their news and how people get their information and how they engage their public servants has changed light years in just 8 years. And so, Sioux Falls, if you like what we're doing here today, let the next mayoral candidate know, because maybe, but you know what? The next mayor may not even do listening and learning sessions. They may not. And I respect it. It's just something that I committed to when I was running for mayor back in 2009. It's how I started my campaign. And then I said if I was ever elected, I was going to do these listening and learning sessions every month that I've been your mayor. And we've done them in so many different places with so many different people. And now we're trying something new with 4 months to go?
Right.
4 months to go. So, but it's been fun. So thank you, Heather. Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Even when I look back at the 5 years that I've had this role, we originally were using Facebook and Twitter just to share
That's right.
information. We were putting links to news releases out there, was basically how we were using it. And now it's so much more interactive. People are asking us questions on Facebook and Twitter, and we're responding quickly to the information that they've requested. And so it is a really engaging way to quickly get answers in most cases. So
I ask millennials and Gen X people, how do you get your news, or how do you find? And it is amazing how many of them use Twitter or Facebook, and they'll see that headline or those first, and then they'll click on it if they find it interesting, and then they may read the first paragraph or two or whatever. And so it is fascinating. And maybe I'll just kind of caution you folks. I would caution you though, if you're making your decisions, or if the chatter around the supper table or around the breakfast club or at your church gathering, if it's just revolving around that headline or that little 10 to 20 word Twitter feed, but I would really caution you on that, because I think you'll find most of the time that headline really doesn't give what's actually the story's about or what the topic's about much justification. It just isn't tied as directly as you think it would be. You still do need to do your homework, Sioux Falls. You do. Dig a little deeper. Even some of the questions that we've had today, I think that if every citizen had all the information that we provide the city council, or the media, and I'm going to say that again, we provide the city council and the media just an incredible amount of information. We do answer their questions. However, what is actually relayed to the citizens, or what can be relayed because of, you've got only limited time or limited space, that's a whole nother topic. So, I get it, but please stay informed, get engaged, pay attention, and it will make a difference with how your public servants act or vote or respond. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now the fun questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Joel commented on Facebook that you should be a teacher. So is that your new calling after you're done being the mayor? You're going to be a teacher?
Well, Joel, first of all, thank you. I do love teaching. I really love coaching, mentoring. I love it. And who knows, where this life will bring. As you mentioned, Cindy and I, we did just make an announcement on what kind of our next steps are. And we do have some specific plans on what we're going to do, right after we're done serving the city. And we've got some more general plans on what we're going to do, publicly, privately, and professionally. And maybe some of it will involve a coaching or a teaching or a mentoring type of situation. But time will tell. I do want to stay in public service in some way. We didn't make an announcement at our press conference, but Sioux Falls and South Dakota. I do believe that if the people want and if the God willing, I will serve again. You have to earn it, but I certainly will give that a shot. But in the meantime, who knows? Maybe there will be some coaching or teaching, situations that will happen, including my grandson George.
Right.
That is, I've had people say, Mayor Mike, what do you buy your grandson George? I don't buy him anything.
Really?
I don't know if I've ever bought him anything.
Not even a Packers jersey or nothing.
You know, I haven't even bought him a Packers jersey, I don't think. But I do give him my time. I try to teach him as much as I can in the time that I've got. And I do that. I've tried to do that with Kylie and my coworkers. And in city government, I've had a blast teaching not only my direct reports, Heather, including you, or coaching or mentoring, and vice versa, you doing the same to me. It's just been a glorious journey in terms of having that ability to engage each other, coach each other, and then make good decisions. Everything from how we remove snow, traffic light technology, how we serve in our libraries, getting into the weeds in this and getting into the weeds on that. I've learned so much, and at the same time, I hope I've taught others, some of the things that I learned in corporate America, how to run government like a business, which I think that we've done. Again, kind of a controversial topic, Sioux Falls, but no, I really think that we have taken so many of those business practices that I worked with over the last 35 years, and I really do think that we've brought many of them into city government, and I'm thrilled by it. And I hope that we don't go back. I don't know who the next mayor is going to be, but I hope we don't go back. I think that running government like a business is really, really not only a good thing, I think it's a great thing. Making things more efficient, more productive, more service-oriented, getting more value or productivity out of the dollars that you spend or invest, holding people accountable. Making mistakes. Yep. Did you catch that, Heather? Making mistakes. My gosh. And this started with Joel's comment on teaching, didn't it?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. But when I got here, it was amazing how folks in government, they were so hesitant to do something that may cause a mistake. And I get it, the scrutiny of public service, it's nonstop. The public, your peers on the council, the media, the scrutiny. And probably most of the time, they like to focus on the negative, the mistakes that you made. So I get that hesitancy, but it's not good, Sioux Falls, to only reach this high so that it lessens your chances of making a mistake. But that's what most governments do. And I'll say something now that may be controversial. Maybe that's kind of what we've done in Sioux Falls city government a little bit. We didn't step out of that comfort zone very much. Well, over our last 8 years, we've definitely stepped out of the comfort zone. We reached higher, and then we hit it, and then we reached even higher, and then we hit it, and then we reached even higher, and then we hit it. And you bet, we made some mistakes along the way. You bet. And we still have folks that's all they want to talk about.
Right.
They just want to talk about the mistakes. Yeah, don't care about, Denny Sanford Premier Center. Hey, don't want to talk about that we've got the 88th busiest event center in the world. Don't want to talk about that we've been operating in the black ever since it's open. Don't want to talk about that we actually opened up that event center on time. We opened it up under budget. And yes, about 80% of the jobs were local jobs. Don't want to talk about that. Don't want to talk about the Garth and Tricia stuff and how that's captured the attention. Don't want to talk about Pheasant Fest, which is coming in March, which would have never happened unless we had our new event center out at the Arena and Convention Center site. There are folks and there are entities, and yes, some in the media, just some, not all, just some, that's all they want to talk about is what negative can we find? How can we agitate? How can we focus on the, making things negative? And that's back to my point about government should make mistakes. Your football team should make mistakes. Your business should make mistakes. Your church should make mistakes. Your kids should make mistakes. That's how you get better. That's how you learn. It's how you grow. It's how you evolve. And so, yeah, I've loved the ability to work with these 1,200 plus city employees, and yes, city councilors and the public, and yes, the media. I've really enjoyed it. But I do hope that, we continue to reach higher, collaboratively work with each other, make some mistakes along the way, and continue this path that we're on. And that is, I think, to be if not the community, one of the best communities in America. And our results show it.
Well, it might be a mistake to end with this question because Robert asked us on Facebook, do you support New Approach South Dakota and the medical cannabis movement?
That's our last question.
That's our last question. So medical marijuana is on the list.
Okay, Robert.
Robert.
All right, Robert. Well, I first of all, that's not it's not a city topic per se. I mean, the council, they can't put together an ordinance that allows medical marijuana. They can't do that. Even you got a strong mayor form of government, home rule charter. We can still do some things. That is one thing that we cannot do in the city. We can't make a decision on that. That is going to be done either through the state government. So Robert, I'd encourage you to contact your legislators or your governor, or nationally. If nationally the country wanted to do something based on medical marijuana laws, they could do that. So Robert, I don't even know how to answer that question. I'll say this, and probably I'm taking a little risk here. Maybe I'm making a mistake. But in terms of medical marijuana, I will say this: my stepfather Earl, who just passed away last year, he dealt with Parkinson's, and Parkinson's is a disease where I've read the reports, and again, I'm not a doctor, but there does seem to be some benefit for Parkinson's patients who have used medical marijuana. So I always found that intriguing. Could my stepfather Earl, would he have had some benefit with it? And then my father-in-law Vern, he had Vern, he had the Parkinson's, and then my stepfather Earl, he had Alzheimer's. And so here are these two men that I love dearly, who both passed away last year, one of Parkinson's, one of Alzheimer's. And could they have benefited from, I don't know how he called it, you said something cannabis.
Medical cannabis.
Medical cannabis or probably medical marijuana. Could they have benefited from it? I would have liked to have, seen if they could have. I would have, because I think you find out at some point in time, you love your family so much, you want to do anything you can to help them, and if that could help them, I would have loved to have them have the opportunity to do it. But right now, it is against the law in South Dakota. It is against the law in Sioux Falls, and so we'll see how this evolves. I think the country as a whole is starting to address this more and more, I think there's even been some attempts to put it on the ballot in South Dakota. And so ultimately, who knows? Maybe that will be how it's decided in South Dakota. Maybe they'll get it on the ballot, and then the people will decide. If the legislator doesn't, or if the U.S. Senate and U.S. House does not. So we'll see. But yeah, that's again one of the things about Facebook, Twitter, and more. Maybe it will give people more of the impetus to ask some of those questions that they normally maybe would be a little more hesitant to ask, like Robert
Right.
did with his medical cannabis thing. So, hey, what the heck? Bring it on. Bring it on.
Well, and communication lines are always open. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, and you're always able to contact us at siouxfalls.org. There's a contact us button on that for each department. So if you ever have any questions, we're here to answer them.
And too, the Ask the Mayor program. That's another opportunity where we get questions in and we try to address those questions. And I don't know, Sioux Falls, I hope you found this valuable. Heather, you were quite good at this.
Thank you.
I don't know what your life journey is going to be, but you're quite good at this too. And thank you for being part of our journey. That is one thing, Sioux Falls. We didn't have a communications director, 8 years ago or 7.5 years ago, and the intent was truly to try to engage the people that we're serving in ways unheard of in the past, to be more open, more available, more transparent, more engaging. And I think that we've done that and more. So Heather, thank you. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure.
Great job. And hey, Brad, couldn't have done it without you either. Brad Dumke behind the camera here today, and yes, the folks at CityLink and so much more. So Sioux Falls, thank you for another great listening and learning session. I will be, I think, back on the road again next month.
We're going to be at Pheasant Fest next month.
We're going to be at Pheasant Fest next month, so stay tuned to that. And but in the meantime, keep it going, Sioux Falls. Proud of you. We've got a level of confidence and momentum growing right now that is the envy of most. So again, hang in there, more good things to come, and make it a great day.